The first experience, if you really want to get to it, 1972, I'm aging myself, but I went with some friends who were some bluegrass musicians that I knew in Wheeling, and they took me to what at that time was one of the most popular fiddle conventions called the Union Grove Fiddlers Convention in North Carolina. And at that time, I really wasn't even that interested in the music. I just went because it was a festival and it was something to do. So that just kind of was my first exposure to kind of a festival, fiddle music, that sort of thing. And it wasn't until I came here to school in the mid-1970s that I probably became most interested in traditional old-time music. There was a group on campus at the time that was called the Students Appalachian for Awareness Project. It was called SAP. And they were interested in Appalachian culture and traditions and things like that. And they would sponsor musicians, or they sponsored square dances in the Mountain Air Ballroom. I probably started going to those just out of interest. And then one thing led to another, and I really kind of just started really enjoying the old-time string band music, which was really a lot different than bluegrass. And maybe that's something that was conveyed to you by other people, Jerry and Mark, whatever. It's more of a traditional mountain music. String band doesn't have the more commercialized sound that a lot of bluegrass music does. And that really piqued my interest back then. At the same time, I had gone to another festival, I think it was in 1976, with somebody that had turned me on to old-time music here in town. They took me to, up in Delaware, to the Brandywine Friends of Old-Time Music Convention. I came back to Morgantown, and that was how I began. I thought that would be a neat thing to do, would be to start this organization here in town called the Morgantown Friends of Old-Time Music, which to this day still goes by that name. They now call it the Morgantown Friends of Old-Time Music and Dance, but I kind of got that name from the Brandywine Friends of Old-Time Music. And out of that, I became real interested in learning how to call square dances, learning more about the music. I never picked up an instrument to learn profoundly, but I really enjoy the music. I would go to these dances that were at the Lair Ballroom, and maybe there wouldn't be a caller there, or I would go to the dances every other week with a group of people over at Marilla Park, where I learned from this guy, Worley Gardner, who the festival is named after, that I'll be calling the square dance for this weekend. This was probably the late 70s, early 80s that we just started going to that religiously. And over time, I don't know if I had the kind of personality that just took on to that, but I started learning some of his calls as well as other square dance callers, and I would go to other places around the state or around the region where there would be other square dances. I would tape record them long before camcorders with little cassette players, and I would learn some dances. I'd learn some, make up some of my own, take what other people have done and kind of adapt it to what I enjoyed doing. And yeah, I've been doing the dances for over 30 years, and out of that, I've met so many great people. I go around and do dances at other areas. Pittsburgh, I've done a lot of dances there, down at Augusta, down at Clifftop, at Glenville, the Folk Festival, Clifftop, the big Appalachian String Band Festival that's real big. So it's been a big part of my life. And I do a lot of weddings. I'll teach people how to dance at weddings. And I have a motto where I can teach a group of total strangers to square dance how to dance in 10 minutes. How to do so, and this is a group that I probably taught them something in 5 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it's infectious.